The right conversation can change everything. This is Mirror Talk, Soulful Conversations.
In this episode, we'll be going on an awakening journey to healing our hearts with the founder of the Art Initiation Academy and the author of My Ecstatic Rebirth. He's a podcaster, scriptwriter, and journalist. Welcome to the show, Stephen. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. Pleased to meet you, Toby, and pleased to be on your show. It's a pleasure to be here. We're just chatting from the neighboring countries, aren't we? So I'm in Prague and you're in Germany, so it's nice to connect to two countries and be here with you.
Yes, it's very nice to connect with you. I'm so glad that you made the time out to speak with me on this episode because I know you've gone through a healing journey, an awakening journey yourself, and that's something that I believe everyone out there could benefit from and gain from. So that's why I would just love us to start like we start almost all podcast episodes with a story. I would love you to please share your healing and your awakening journey with us.
Sure. I'll try and keep it as concise as possible. So I think in any healing journey, it's kind of good to go back to childhood briefly. And, I think the core wounding and trauma that I became aware of was, the fact that my parents were divorcing over a 10-year period. And it was tough for me as a kid. It affected my nervous system. There's a lot of anxiety at home with a lot of shouting going on and things like that. For many, many years, I'm not saying it was the worst experience anyone's ever had, but it certainly affected me on a psychological and sociological level. And so I realized that this trauma was still affecting me through my 20s, through my dating life, through relationships that never really worked out, never really found the one that was for me through my 20s. And realized I needed to go through these changes to not only be a better person, but also to attract the right partner that I wanted to have in my life. I knew I had to upgrade myself because if the truth is that if you attract the level of partner that you are at on many different levels, from an integrity level, from a consciousness level, like a vibration level, humor level, all these things. So I knew after many, many heartbreaks in my 20s, I think it was when I was 28 that it hit me most back in 2012. And I realized, okay, I've got to go on a healing journey now. This is ridiculous. I'm still in a lot of pain. And so started with a few different modalities at that time, and I started my podcast back then and started traveling the world. Fortunately, I left London and because it was too expensive to live there, I realized I could work online and spend the same amount of money traveling that I would living in London. So I was like, okay, I'm going to leave. So I went on this journey and I ended up meeting shamans in Guatemala, and from a chocolate shaman was one of the first shamans I've ever met. I met back then and did cacao with him in his environment next to Lake Catitlan in Guatemala. And then there was ayahuasca shamans, and that was a very powerful journey. And then there was a real cosmic shaman that showed up, the shamaness in Colorado, and she was like extremely powerful and helped me over a couple of years. And then recently, in the last few years, I've been connecting more with what I guess you would call him a shaman, but perhaps not. It doesn't really work the language so well because he's really a doctor. And I mentioned him before the show, the cellular resonance doctor, bringing everything down to the cell, bring it down to the cells of the heart. And so I've had many kind of heart initiations on this journey, and I named my business over my academy, my education system, the Heart Initiation Academy, because of that. The first heart initiation was in Guatemala in 2013, where my heart lit up like a baked potato during a sacred spot massage in Guatemala in a workshop. So all of these events that happen through these different modalities as I was being a journalist across the world and reporting back on these things through my magazine and then through my book and now through an education system. I managed to heal myself, attract the right partner in my life, and start a family with her. So it was really a journey of romance, love, healing. If you want to have good relationships in this life, and this is a life full of relationships, you've got to go out there and heal yourself, in my opinion. So yeah, that's kind of a snapshot.
Yes. Thanks so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for taking us on that journey that you went through. And I'm so grateful that you're also using, everything that you've experienced, your healing journey, and everything that you've encountered in life, basically, to help other people out there through your magazine and also podcasts, and now also through your book also. And that's one thing that I really want us to talk about right now, because I'm looking forward to learning about the 10 keys that you share in your book. In your book, you reveal 10 keys to unleash our power, purpose, and pleasure. And so I would just love us to dive into that already. Like, can you walk us through these 10 keys and how we could use that to unleash our power?
Well, first of all, we have to kind of realize that our power has been taken away from us as individuals, and you kind of start to realize this on the journey of healing. And pleasure is often taken away from us on a sensual level, on a sexual level, obviously, with all the kind of porn addiction that's gone on in this society for so long, and other things that have been disturbed by religion. So all of this power, pleasure, and also our purpose has been taken from us, because there's hardly any of us, unfortunately, at this moment, it doesn't seem like, on a soul mission. I know people like you and I are, but unfortunately we're in the minority. People listening might feel like they're on the soul mission or not, but unfortunately it's still at least conservatively over 90%, 95% are really not on their soul mission. That's my opinion. I think others would probably agree with that. So once we realize these things have been taken from us, then we need to go looking for how can we go and get these things back. And so I went on that journey, and the keys really start with self-care, self-awareness, and self-love. Because if we don't have these things where we care about ourselves, we care about our minds, our hearts, our souls, we don't care about these things, we don't put value on these things, the real truth, and the truth about the jewel that we are in this universe, that you are a divine being of God, and you deserve to care for yourself before anything else, really. It's that old analogy about sitting on an airplane and putting the oxygen mask on yourself. You have to help yourself first, and then go on to help others, fill your cup, and then it overfills to others, as people like Jesus said. So we have to go out there and do that first. It's self-care and self-awareness, and that comes through many different things in a self-care sense, from nutrition to having healthy thoughts to fitness. You want to get a balance of these things, and you have to think about each one carefully about how you're going to integrate all these things into your life. But it's a self-care regime. You build it up. Eventually you realize what your body wants, what your mind wants, what your soul wants, because you're following your heart more. And then you make a lifestyle around that. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. It's just rituals each day, eating consciously, speaking consciously, using your thoughts consciously, using your creative energy consciously, and being engaged with it all the time instead of disassociating, which often comes through the fact that we do not actually feel our emotions. We mostly feel suppressed feelings, and therefore the difference between an emotion, which most people don't feel, they usually feel a suppressed emotion or suppressed feeling, sorry. And it's that's coming up. It's normally triggered, especially in close relationships I'm talking about. They will allow that suppressed feeling to come up, and it doesn't allow you to experience the emotion of joy or happiness, or even anger can be righteous if it's done in the right way. But if it's anger because you've got a trauma that you haven't dealt with, then it's a suppressed feeling. We have to be aware of these things. These are the self-awareness things that we need to be aware of, which I talk about in the book. So self-awareness, self-love, self-care is really the first chapter. And then we move on from there into how to heal the past. So making you aware that there's a past to heal, and then start healing it. Emotional mastery comes after that. Then communication mastery. Then understanding the inner masculine, inner feminine. We've got unconditional love and integrity in there. And then sacred sexuality comes lastly. Also creating a vision of the future just comes before that. So these keys, I believe, and people have read my book and gone through the academy, which I put together, we go into those things in more depth, because, there's almost an infinite journey within each chapter. Sacred sexuality as infinite journey, as self-love, does self-care, self-awareness, integrity, understanding the inner dynamics of your own being is an infinite journey, and you meet others on that journey, other mentors to help you even expand it even more. So that connection with the cosmos even more. So I think it's the 10 chapters that we should have learned at school when we were younger. It's what I would have wanted to learn really if I was going back to school at age, I don't know, 10 or something. So that's why I put it together.
Yes. I'm so happy that, you put that together for us to learn, and also even through academy, people could also learn more about that also, how to align with their heart, how to heal their heart, and how to, even assess the power of their heart also. But one thing I would love to know is, when you talk about the divine self, for example, like how would you define that? Like, what is our true divine self?
Well, again, it's good to have my mentor, one of my mentors at least, Dr. Doug Lair. He mentioned it the other day. We were on a workshop with him. It's mentioning the opposite, and that's kind of what I did at the beginning of answering a few of your questions. And the opposite is the wounded self. So we have to realize there is a wounded self, and that self is often called, parts of us we call the wounded masculine, wounded feminine, wounded inner child. This wounded self usually also includes a disconnection from the divine. You often don't know what the divine is, or there's just a disconnection from it. You just don't know what's really going on in this reality too well. You might be hurt, and the symptoms of this wounded self are you have maybe constant arguments with your close loved ones, and they're never really resolved. They're constantly ongoing, maybe transforming a little bit, but they just change subject into something else. And yeah, it's a circular thing that it doesn't really evolve into a more conscious relationship. Once people are aware that they have these traumas and they need to heal them, and they need to heal their heart to have a better life, then you can start talking about, okay, what is the vision of the true divine self? I put it together. If you're on a YouTube video, there's a map here, and it has the great I am, the soul, the heart in the middle, then the divine masculine, divine feminine, divine child, which I call the double holy trinity. And this is a infinite map in itself. It's a visionary concept. You might call the I am the higher self. If you want to use different languages, you might call the great I am God. You might call the great I am the divine. You might change the words around a little bit. But those things exist as a potential within us. And it needs a great exploration. I'm not saying I'm embodying the true divine self every single moment of every single day. I aspire to that, And I find mentors like Dr. Doug Lair, who I mentioned. He's embodying what I see as a true divine self with the work he's doing. And so there becomes, with this map, which the map of the true divine self, which I put together, which I kind of give away more on the Heart Initiation Academy, you have now a new different concept of yourself. And I'm not saying you absolutely have to use this concept. I'm saying it's worked for me. It's worked for a few others at this early stage of exploration. A few thousand, I'd say. So this is a new map for you to go and discover, see if it works for you. See if you can transform your wounded child into a divine child that's healed, which I give, actually my mentor in Colorado, the shamaness that I mentioned earlier, she was the one that described to me that the divine child is a 7-year-old mature child, as if risen, raised up by Christ-like parents. So you have to then go on a wounded child to divine child transformational journey, and that you could do that in a few weeks if you put your mind and heart to it. And that's where I actually recommend starting first on the map, is with the divine child and working with it. And sometimes quite oftentimes you need a facilitator to help you with that, because it's not the easiest thing to do on your own. I did when I first started working with it. I needed someone to help me. So there's different parts of this map that you can explore, and that's kind of what I mean by the true divine self. I'm not saying it's an easy journey. It's really not. You need mentors. It's not as if you can. It's not as if you can just jump straight into that true divine self. I mean, people try to make that jump by doing things like DMT or 5-MeO DMT or some of the extreme ones. I don't think ayahuasca quite does it. You get a glimpse of the divine in that, certainly. So yeah, that's it. It's an exploration. It's a map. It's not just coats.
Yeah.
A jacket you put on. It's much more than that. You really got to go on a journey into your own heart, into your own soul. And it's an infinite journey.
Yeah. So if I may ask, what is DMT? I don't know what DMT means.
Joe Rogan talks about it a lot. So it's methyltryptamine. You can vape it, and it causes more DMT. Or sorry, you have DMT naturally in your brain, and I think most or all living animals have DMT within their system. But when you add more, it's also the active ingredient in ayahuasca. When you add more, the effects are pretty consistent for everyone. So they're very similar with these sacred geometries coming up. Some see these beings that are sort of in other dimensions, that are like worker beings that are kind of running the reality here. And it's also opens up your heart so much. So it's like, it's a psychedelic, obviously. So it's a strong one. And there's two versions. There's a synthetic version, which people make. And you can make it from tree bark, from the right tree, from that, I think it's the Amazon. I'm not sure on the tree name. You'd have to look that one up. Or you can get it off the bufo toad, and do it that way, but you'd have to find a shaman to do that. I did meet some bufo toads in Prague, actually. My tattoo artist a few years ago had two in her apartment, and they were the most spiritual beings I've ever met in my life. They were so strong. It was crazy.
Wow. Well, I mean, these are realms I've never explored before, but it's very interesting to hear about, such edges or sides of spirituality from you. And how would you say this helps us to, assess the power of our hearts, or to heal our hearts?
Which specifically, the psychedelics or the true divine self?
The true divine self.
As I said before, the two links are the fact it's a journey. Well, the map of the true divine self is a journey into the heart. So it's almost a paradox, or I don't even know how to explain those things, but they come together in union, essentially. When you go on the journey of your true divine self, I found that literally your heart, the cells in your heart change, and the feeling in your heart changes. So whereas, I don't know, 12 years ago, my heart would be broken so easily. Now it really can't actually be touched. It's not really affected by much. There's this pure peace within it. And I've had physical initiations in my heart, as I mentioned earlier, where my heart literally lit up like a baked potato, like it was on fire during one of these initiations in a workshop. And my partner, my wife now, she had a similar experience. We went on very similar journeys, although we didn't meet until 3 years ago. But before that, we met. She also went on a heart awakening journey, and she talked of this crack that was audible. You could actually hear the crack in her heart. She was doing 12 hours of yoga a day in Thailand on I think it's Agama yoga, like training 500-hour to be a 500-hour teacher. And her heart literally cracked, and she had to heal that, and she nearly died. So unfortunately, I had more of an ecstatic heart journey, but other people go through these changes in their heart, and their heart is literally changing, and its cellular structure and the way it feels in your body. It becomes more intuitive. It becomes more peaceful and untouched by things it previously would have been affected by. So the heart itself is kind of synonymous. It's integral to the journey of the true divine self, to the map of the true divine self. It's at the center of the map. So they're just synonymous is probably the best word to say it.
Yeah,
I think.
And once we're able to get to that level of being aligned to that, would you say we were to know the plans, the divine plans for our lives, and be able to work on that part of the divine plans for our lives?
Yes, I think that is completely true, because you're starting to know your true self, and your heart is also inextricably linked to your soul. And so when those two are connected and your higher self is connected, like on the map, there's the heart and then the soul and then the higher self, or the I am, if you want to call it one of those, then you start being able to divide. I believe the divine plan is held not only in the soul, but once it's connected with the higher self, and you connect that trinity of the higher self, the soul, and the heart, the divine plan is also coming down, or your soul mission is coming down from the higher self, and they're all meeting, and there's bits of information on each of these parts of your own being. So your heart has some of this information, your soul has it, and your higher self, and these parts of your being start to integrate, and then you start following your divine mission, or your divine plan, or your soul mission, whatever language you want to use. I use divine plan a lot. Soul mission also works. So yeah, this connected to the heart is incredibly important to creating a better world, but also following your own soul mission. And when you follow your soul mission or your divine plan, then businesses become better around you. You start creating art that is really inspiring to the world. Podcasts are inspiring to the world, or pieces of physical art, or statues, or architecture, or music, whatever it is. And that don't get me wrong, we've had some of that. I mean, I love Michael Jackson, Bob Marley. These are artists that even coming out in the last years, there is that out there, but we just need more and more and more of it, because that's what we love in life. We love these amazing characters and souls that rise up and really inspire us with their music or other types of art. So we just need all of that out there, and by following our hearts and following the map of our divine plan, then that we can all get there a little bit quicker.
Yes. We all need to follow that divine plan for our lives to get to, the place where we could fulfill our destiny and live in our full power, basically. Yeah. I'll also talk a little bit about love life. Like, I know you're also experienced in that field, and while preparing for this conversation, I came across the term sacred sexuality, and I was like, oh, I'm going to ask Stephen about this. So can you explain what that means? What does sacred sexuality mean to you?
Well, again, we weren't taught about the words sacred and sex going together ever, or I certainly wasn't, and I didn't realize it, that those words could even go together until I was about 29, probably. 39 now. And so when I first came across this, I was wanting to learn more like yourself now, and I was thinking, how does this really work? A lot of it of sacred sexuality comes down to being more present in our body, knowing the intuition in our own body, and these kind of things actually happen outside the bedroom first, or outside partnering with someone first. You become more intuitive with your body when you can allow yourself to feel more. So feeling sorrow more, feeling the energy of a tree when you go near it. How does it change you as in your cellular vibrations in your body? Like, what does it do to you? What does a dog do, the one you like? When you come near you, how does that really feel and sense in your body? What is it like when you eat a mango? Like, what does it look like, rather than just throwing it down and letting it pass in a few seconds? Like, go into the feeling of what it gives you. Starting there is a really good place, and then you start to have a sacred relationship with everything around you. And so you have sacred food, sacred music. You start to use that word sacred more in your life because you're thinking about it in a different way. Then you bring it to sexuality, and everything becomes more present because you've been more present in your life. You've felt your feelings when you're next to that tree or whatever it is you're with at that time. And then coming back to your breath, coming back to feeling your sexuality much more, and choosing partners that want this to explore this with you. You can't really choose partners in the same way if you want to explore sacred sexuality. It's got to be a priority for you, even if you're new to it. You talk about these things on dates if you haven't slept together at that point, or even if you have, then and you're interested in it, you think, okay, how can we bring more sacredness into our sex life? Discussions like that lead you to looking down different paths, maybe different books, and just discovering a sense of presence where everything isn't just about getting to the genitals and friction sex and quick orgasms. It's slow down. It doesn't mean you have to do hours and hours, but it just means slow down and sense your body more about what's going on when you're with someone. So it's allowing more pleasure, allowing more surrender, allowing more time, dropping into the body, and not being too rushed, and not aiming for anywhere in particular within sexuality, because porn has taught us to aim, at one thing, which is normally male ejaculation, and no, forget that for a while. For men, I always recommend that you stop ejaculating for, a month at least, and sense how that changes your body, how you cope with breathing. After a week where it's boiling up and you haven't felt your balls so much in your life, so you have to breathe through all that stuff if you're having sex, or even if you're not having sex at that point. It's gonna test your emotions and the feelings in your body, because you're gonna want to release it. But if you can get through those days and then sense your body in a different way, perhaps you need to, if you live by the sea, jump in this cold water on that 7th day and keep doing that to sort of move the energy around. Perhaps you need to do more gym on that day, or running, or whatever it is. But sensing your body in a different way, for a man, that's really important. I think you have to really go through that initiation of like cutting yourself off ejaculation for a month. Even that doesn't mean stop sex if you're with someone. Like, still make love, but just don't ejaculate during love making. So there's quite a lot of avenues you can go down. I think that's a sort of a brief overview.
Mm. Wow, that's awesome. Wow, thank you so much for that. I've learned so much from you already. A lot of new stuff from this conversation, from this short conversation I've had so far. But before I let you go, I would just love to learn something that I find also very, very new to me, and that's your 25 minutes brain orgasm. Like, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, people often ask about this one, and it happened first, I don't know, about 7 years ago, I think, 6 or 7. I heard someone else talk about it. It wasn't something I tried first. It was this guy I met in California, in San Francisco, and he was saying, oh, sorry, it's San Diego. But anyway, he told me that his partner, his wife, had been doing a new little test, because they were kind of, in the tantric testing phase of their relationship, I think. And she licked his forehead, which was, just between the eyebrows, top of the nose, really quite strongly during lovemaking. And he just explained to me this brain orgasm that went straight through his brain and set all his neurons on fire. And it was like he was selling it to me. To be honest, it was a great pitch. And he said, okay, why don't you try it with the partner you're with, because he knew that woman that I was with, because they were friends. And so we did, and then every neuron in my fire also exploded with these ecstatic vibrations that were going from my brain. And as long as the stimulation on my forehead was going, if she stopped, the orgasm would have stopped. But because she was still stimulating, there was just this constant, it seemed to be the only way I could probably describe it, and I don't even have a clitoris, but if a clitoris was being licked there and it could have an orgasm for 25 minutes and send it through your brain, that's probably what it feels like. Well, that is what it feels like. So it's this ecstatic vibration that just goes through the brain as long as you're being stimulated. So a lot of it, I think, has to do with breathing the sexual energy when you're not ejaculating up through your spine during lovemaking. And also, it's important to ask your partner to sort of tap the base of your spine. If you're on YouTube, I'm sort of pretending I'm tapping the bottom of my hand and pretending it's the bottom of my spine, but tapping that up and sort of stroking the energy up the spine. Start with that first. I mean, by all means, try the licking the forehead if you're kind of experimenting with these things anyway. But you need to start breathing the energy up your spine. So you're used to moving the energy around your body, the sexual energy, rather than keeping it in your penis, essentially. So you have to breathe it up your spine. And I was having, these spinal orgasms for years before I had the brain orgasm, but who knows? I might have been able to do the brain orgasm if I knew about it. I mean, it wasn't even me that thought of the idea. I just came across this guy who told me about it. So I haven't actually met any other person besides me and that guy, and apparently I haven't been in touch with that guy because I lost touch with him, unfortunately. But I don't think he was being able to recreate it every time. I can if I wanted to, not that we do it every time. It's not that I need it every day or anything like that. But I do believe it's possible for everyone.
How does it feel like, though? What's it like?
There's a good. I can't run across my room, but I've got an artist's picture where it kind of explains it very well. Where it just like there's a piercing through the third eye that kind of goes straight through the brain and sets every neuron in fire, where you're almost in a psychedelic experience. After 10 minutes, if you went and you're in it, you don't really know where you are. You know you're in an ecstatic experience, and it's unbelievably amazing. But you're just somewhere else because your whole brain's just in full blown ecstasy. It's unreal. And I believe it's possible for everyone, but you have to really train yourself up, I think. And let me know if you manage to do it, because I want to hear from others.
Yeah, that sounds so interesting. Yeah, I mean, Stephen, I've learned so much from you, and I know there are lots of people out there who maybe have more questions to ask you, maybe want to get more details about your academy or information about your book, or even maybe work with you. So what's the best way to reach out to you, connect with you, or work with you?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking, Toby. So yeah, at the moment, go to heartinitiationacademy.com. There's a quiz on there which takes about 2 minutes, maybe 3, where it will tell you where you are kind of on the healing journey at the moment, and at the end of that quiz, then you'll get access to the free version of Heart Initiation Academy, where I give a lot of stuff away, where there's an audio version of my book. I do have a physical workbook, but I'm giving the audio version away for free, and also some True Divine Self meditations, and also a module on self-love, and a little bit about sexuality as well. So I'm giving as much away free as I can, and yeah, that's available at the heartinitiationacademy.com, or you don't need it's just heartinitiationacademy.com. And yeah, I've got other things going on as well. There's Rory's website, and there's various things there if you're into more of the relationship side of things. So if you're looking for going on a healing journey, then heartinitiationacademy.com is the place to be.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to place a link to your website in the show notes of this episode. So I encourage everyone who's interested to just click on the link, copy the link, and then reach out to you and get also the free resources. Thank you. I really appreciate this, Stephen. It was awesome speaking with you.
Thanks, Toby. Really appreciate it. And keep going with this podcast. It's really good. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
If this conversation resonated with you, consider following or subscribing to Mirror Talk on your favorite podcast platform. You can also support the show by sharing this episode with someone who might need it, and by leaving a 5-star rating. It helps these conversations reach more people who could benefit from them.
Thank you very much.